Words matter, and saying the right thing or the wrong thing can make all the difference when it comes to improving skills. While I obviously believe that set design has a huge impact on what swimmers learn, what you say matters as well. So, what should you actually say to swimmers to help them improve? Hi, everyone. Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. I was recently asked about coaching communication, specifically, how do you speak to swimmers? How do you communicate with them in order to help them improve their skills? I also talk about this topic in my book, so if you want more details, check that out. This is a great question because while sets really do drive learning, communicating with swimmers can make a big difference in terms of what they experience, what they're trying to experience, and ultimately what they learn. Effective communication can also keep swimmers on track and keep them engaged, two really important aspects of a successful practice. So what's great communication? Here's the big picture concept. Rather than giving them the answers, give them hints and then also ask questions that help them figure out how to find answers. So let's dive deeper into what that means. So what are some of the potential issues that can come with communication? The first big potential problem is that swimmers are different. Swimmers are going to have different technical problems. They're going to have to find different solutions to the same problems, and they all interpret what you say in different ways. So for that reason, it's really difficult to come up with hard and fast things that you should say to swimmers to solve specific problems, because every situation is going to be a little bit different, and that communication is going to be interpreted differently by different swimmers, and it can even be interpreted differently by the same swimmer at different times. So one of the big challenges is providing swimmers with exactly what they need to know and exactly the way they need to hear it, and that becomes very difficult to do for the reasons I just described. The second issue is one of time. In a practice situation, we don't necessarily have the time to have a ton of one-on-one interaction with different swimmers. We don't have the time to clearly identify exactly what they need to do. We don't always have time to tell them exactly how they need to do it. We don't always have time to see if they can actually do what we want them to do and then provide them feedback back and forth until they get it just right. It's just not feasible when you have a large group and when you have swimmers that have a lot of different problems. So those are the big two challenges we have from a communication standpoint. First of all, it's difficult to know exactly what to say to swimmers because they have different problems, they need different solutions, and they interpret whatever you say in different ways. And it's difficult to have the time to coach swimmers through exactly what you want them to do and coach them primarily through your words. So based upon those challenges, what are some effective communication strategies? The first strategy I like to use is big picture hints, or as I like to call them, cheat codes. So for a given set, you're giving them the big picture principles, the big picture concepts of what they need to try to do rather than the absolutely specific solution. So for instance, if we want swimmers to learn to hold more water, we can provide them with the principles of what it takes to create a lot of propulsion rather than telling them exactly what elbow angle we need them to have or what hand pitch angle we need them to have. More concretely, we can let them know that they need to use a big surface area of the whole arm. They need to move that surface area for as long as possible, and they need to accelerate the arm as they pull. That's compared to saying we need your arm in exactly this position to take exactly this hand path and to execute the pull in exactly the right way. By using the principles, we let them understand what they need to accomplish, but we also give them the freedom to figure out exactly how to do that. We get them close, but we give them a little wiggle room in order to find the best solution for them. And when you do that during a set that's specifically designed to help swimmers figure out how to create a lot of propulsion, that's going to be a powerful combination. If you're too precise in what you want them to do, it's more likely that they're going to try to use a solution that's not right for them. And if you don't give them enough information, they might not have any success finding any sort of solution. So you want to get them close, give them a little bit of freedom, and that's especially effective when done in the context of a well-designed set. And when providing swimmers with these hints, with these cheat codes, it can be really effective to use analogy as opposed to just stating facts. And when using analogies, there are three things you want to look for. One, you want it to be relevant. So obviously it has to provide them information about what they're trying to do. It should also be something that they understand. If you make a comparison to something that they're completely unfamiliar with, it's not going to work very well. It should also be memorable so that it really sticks with swimmers. So for instance, if you're working on a freestyle arm recovery and you want it to be completely relaxed, and you know that one of your swimmers is a violinist, you could make the analogy where you want to recover the arm with as little tension, just like they were using their violin bow. That's going to be an effective analogy for that swimmer because one, it's relevant, it's comparing two skills that are pretty similar, it's simple to understand, That athlete knows what it's like to have a relaxed arm in the context of a violin, and they can make that jump into freestyle. And two, it's also memorable because you're tying in two activities that the swimmer really enjoys. And again, this is an effective way to communicate because it gives them the overall concept, the overall strategy, but it doesn't tell them exactly what to do. And it also gives you the freedom to individualize things to some extent and figure out what works for different swimmers or the group as a whole. The next big picture strategy that I like to use is that of questioning. The purpose here is to provide guidance and to get engagement. By asking swimmers questions, we can draw their attention to whatever we want. So instead of telling a swimmer, hey, your breathing's not very good, you can say, hey, how's your breathing on that one? That's going to force the swimmer to think back, reflect upon their breathing, and that's going to be in their intention. And they're much more likely to be thinking about that during their next repetition. What's valuable about this strategy is you're not going to tell them exactly what to do. You're not going to provide any criticism. You're just going to ask them to reflect on it, and that's going to get them engaged in what they're doing. And like the other strategies, it provides them the freedom to figure out the best solution for them rather than just telling them exactly what to do. You can simply ask them, what did you think of your rotation on that one? How was your rotation on that one? Questions like that can draw attention to what you want to draw attention to and let them figure out how they want to approach the problem, how they want to solve it. And that's going to give them the freedom, the autonomy, and it's going to get them engaged in what you want them to be engaged in. Another set of questions I like is, what was good on that one? What could be better? And those two questions draw attention to what they were successful with, where the opportunity is to improve, and it provides them with the freedom to figure out what they want to work on the next repetition. And when you give them the choice as to what they're going to focus on, they tend to do a much better job of actually staying focused and figuring out how to make it better. Overall, questions are really effective because they make them give you feedback as opposed to you having to give them feedback. And the power there is that helps them learn how to pay attention to what they're doing, because many coaches have said this before, they are their best coach, but they need to be taught how to coach themselves. And by asking them questions, you're forcing them to reflect on what they're doing. And by reflecting on what they're doing, that's how they're going to learn how to coach themselves. And the coolest part about it is that because it's their feedback, it doesn't feel like criticism, and they're much more likely to actually act on that feedback because it's what they came up with rather than what you forced upon them. So for all those reasons, I find questions to be a really, really powerful communication tool for helping swimmers improve. Language isn't just about telling swimmers what to do. It's about driving engagement and guiding the process of learning. By providing hints, by using analogies, and by asking really great questions, we get both. To learn more about which skills I find to be the most important to communicate about, check out the video here.